Hey everybody, welcome back to Gooseberry Homestead. So I'm doing my filming one-handed today again, and I really should probably bring my tripod outside, but I don't have it outside with me. I gave my neighbor's dogs some little treats, so maybe they won't bark for a little bit. But I wanted to share with you guys how I'm going to start training and pruning two of my apricot trees that I grew from seed last year. And so yeah, so right here you'll see my clippers, and they're really dirty, and I couldn't do this with my hand and holding the camera and that sort of thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you what I'll do. And so basically what you're wanting to do to clean I guess that was short-lived. You want to use some of this rubbing alcohol type stuff to clean off your, I think it's called isopropyl alcohol. And you can get this at like any store. I got this one from the dollar store. So anyways, I'm going to use this. I'm going to spray off my, my clippers here, my pruning shears. And it's very important that you do this because this is going to kill any bad diseases or funguses or anything that could possibly harm your tree. And so yeah, so you want to clean it off. And before you go to say, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this tree and with this apricot tree. And so you want to make sure that in between both trees you clean your clippers off before you do any cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wash up my clippers, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've cleaned off my clippers, and they still look a little bit dirty, you guys, but you can see them shining, the little bit of sunlight that we've got coming through the clouds and that sort of thing. And they've got a little bit of rust on them, so that's why they kind of look a little bit dirty. But what I'm going to do here is this tree right here, I'm wanting to train it as an espalier. I could be pronouncing it wrong. Some people will say espalier or espalier. It's a French word. And I've been watching a lot of videos online on how to do this, and I figured it would just be fun because I want to keep these plants, or these trees I should say, fairly short while we're renters. And so I'm just gonna do a small one on this one here, and then this one I'm going to train into a goblet shape. And the reasoning I'm doing that is because I really kind of like the way this tree here kind of curves a little bit, and I think that would look really beautiful and on the trunk part. And then this tree here, it's a little bit more straight, but the very top of this one actually had some die off from the cold weather that we had back in December. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim this down to promote more growth this year. And so I had sought some advice from some people, and they said to go up about 1.5 feet. I might go up just a little bit higher than that, and I don't want to cut off a whole lot of the limbs. I really kind of want to keep it a little bit taller, but not as short as 1.5 feet. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of trimming because it is a very young plant, but I do want to promote more growth on my plant. And so hopefully I don't kill my tree, but wish me luck. So I'm gonna do some pruning now. It should be all right to do this. You should do a lot of pruning like this. I guess in the winter months is good. We have a fairly okay climate here, and I think I'm safe to do my pruning. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm just going to tell you what I'm thinking about doing. And let's see here. You want to locate some really good limbs for the branching. And so this one I'm wanting to do in a goblet shape. And I'm wanting to go up about, you know, well, that's about 1.5 feet right there, okay? And it's like a fat pencil shape. And this limb is really good here, and I almost think these limbs right in this section would be better. So I'm thinking if I were to do it here, which puts it closer to what the gentleman had told me to trim the tree at. It seems a little bit short, but the limbs are really nice down here for the tree. And so I'm going to look up just a little bit higher because you're wanting to look for some nice limbs. And I've noticed that some of the other limbs have actually died off here, and then there's another one here has died, a portion of it has died. And so and then this one here has died a little bit. So the smaller limbs I'm noticing have died. So those ones will be okay to remove. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna bring it down to about here where I have some really nice branching, somewhere in here, and where I have some really nice branches, because then I have something really good to work with. And so about, let's see here, probably, let's see, so this is a really good branch, but since I'm going to do the goblet shape, I'm wanting it to be some other branches. So I'm going to move up the tree here. I'm going to go up about 1.5 feet. So that's about 12 inches there. And then up in here is, you know, close to 1.5 feet up in this area. But I notice I have some, like, this is a dead limb right here. I'm just going to clip it a little bit. So that one is dead. This one here is dead. So yeah, and I can definitely tell that it's like, it's super puny. This one right here, there, see, let's see if it'll focus a little bit more. Focus, focus. It's not wanting to focus for me. I have to move my other hand there. Okay, so you can see that a little bit better there. This one right here is like dead on the end, and so that's not going to be a good branch at all. So I'm really loving the branches down here, but that only makes it about 1 foot high, and I'm pretty darn short, but I don't want the tree to be too short for my branching and that sort of thing. But the branches right here are perfect. So I'm thinking I should probably bring it down to here and start my goblet shape down in this section right here. Like, this is a good branch here. So if I come in here, you want to clip at an angle so that the water comes off. Clip. There we go. I've made the cut. Oh my goodness. So here's the rest. And what I'm thinking about doing is I'm actually thinking about putting this into the dirt and seeing if this will root from its from the softwood cutting. So I'm actually going to save that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to I want to keep my branches down below. Some of them I'm only going to cut off a little bit of them, and so I'm going to come down in here and I'm going to remove these bottom ones, because what you're wanting to do when you're creating the goblet shape is you're wanting to select anywhere between 3 to 5 limbs, and the optimal one is either 3 or 4. So I have a really nice goblet shape up here at the top of the tree, and I'm going to keep quite a few of these branches. I'm going to take off the lower ones, but I'm going to keep the upper ones, because I want the tree to focus more on the branches towards the top of the tree here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the lower branches, because we don't really need the lower branches, and we want the tree to thicken up the branches that are near the top of the goblet shape, and this will promote more growth for the tree to focus in on those and make those branches thicker and stronger. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom section of limbs here, and then yeah, we'll see how the tree looks. So I'm just going to do that here with you. I'm holding my camera with one hand and I'm using my clippers on the other one. So you want to come right up next to the tree and clip like that. And I'm just going to go around and clip off the lower limbs like so. And I'm going to pick them up when I'm done, because I'm going to try to see if I can root them, because there's like a softwood clipping. So yeah, so I'm going to move that one. And then there we got another lower branch here on that side. And I was really surprised how much branching the tree had did last season. So we're getting closer to the top of the tree here. And I think I need to invest in a little bit better clippers for my pruning purposes. So yeah, so I'm moving slowly up the tree, as you can see, and it'll be exciting to see how the tree looks this spring when all of the leaves come on. Now this was a limb that had died and didn't produce, or it died back. So yeah, I need to get some better clippers, I think, most definitely, because this one is not wanting to clip right. So come in there. There we go. I'm keeping, now this part of the limb here had died on this one, so that's a good one to remove, because you want to remove anything that's dead, dying, or diseased. Those are the 3 Ds. So that's what you're looking for. You don't want to keep anything that's dead, dying, or diseased. How many times can I repeat that? So now what we have here left on the tree, and I'll come back so you guys can see, I have about that much limbs left, and I'm thinking we're going to keep this limb here, this limb here. This one is curving in a little bit. I'm not really liking this one. So I'm thinking I'm gonna leave it for this year, but I'm gonna leave the rest of these limbs on the tree, and I'm just gonna remove some of the bits that have died back during the harsh part of the season. I'm just gonna trim them back just a little bit, and anything that ends up dying any more on it, that'll be trimmed off later in the season. So yeah, see, like the tip of this one is dead, so I'm actually going to trim it, and you want to trim it so that the nodes are facing out. You don't want the limbs to be promoting limb growth towards the inside of the goblet shape. So as you can see here, I'm going to zoom so it will focus. Let me see. All right, you see this node here is facing in, while this node is facing out. I'm going to clip right in between those 2 nodes so that it'll promote tree or limb growth to go out, away from the center of the tree. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do it at a slight angle, like so. And that way it'll promote the growth to go out, away from the tree. And I will continue like that around the tree on all the limbs. Just a little bit. I'm not trying to take a whole lot off the ends, because I don't want, I don't need to take very much off the ends because it's such a small tree. So this one, as you can see right here, has already started out away, but the end right here is dead. So I'm just going to bring it back to right here, because this is a node facing out. So it'll continue doing what it was doing before. And then these ones are dead limbs down in here. So I'm going to remove those dead limbs and get them off of the tree. So, and then there's another little bit right here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. There's a node on the other side facing out. And I'm going to look at this one. There's a little bit of a dead limb here. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to keep them about the same height. So I'm going to come over like this over to here, and I'm going to look for the node facing out, and this one's facing out. So I'm going to do this, clip it right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this limb. I'm going to come around here, like this one is about this height, but I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to come around, and I'm going to come over about to this height here, and I'm going to look for the node facing out on this side. And these limbs actually kind of died back, so I'm going to actually leave this limb a little bit taller, and I'm going to trim it off up a little bit higher here, up in this section, because it's a little bit, a lot of these limbs died on this part this season. So I'm actually going to trim all the dead ones off because of that reason. So let's see here. I'm just going to come in here, and I'm just going to trim them all off, and it's wobbling around. The limbs are very pliable at this stage because it's such a young tree. and it'll put off new, I need a new pair of clippers. It'll put off new shoots on new branches, so I'm not really worried about that so much. So I might go ahead and trim it closer, but I am only removing the dead bits right now because you don't want to keep anything that is dead on your tree. Alright, so there's one more on this limb. I was really surprised at how much it actually, the dogs are playing, how much had actually died back. So I'm going to look here for a node, and if I look right here, you can see some new growth on the actual limb, so it'll put out more. So I'm just going to look for a node facing outwards across from this height here, right about here. All right, and then this one has already been trimmed, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to step back so you can see what I'm left with here. And it is a nice goblet shape, and it's a fairly small tree. And since I'm just a renter, I grew these trees from seed. They're little apricot trees, and I'm experimenting. I'm growing things because I love to see what I can grow, and I'm also using this time to experiment. And so I am just seeing what I can do in my backyard, and I want to keep my trees small and almost dwarf size because I'm planning on moving and bringing these trees with me when I move. All right, so this is going to be my goblet shape apricot tree. This one here, on this apricot tree, I'm wanting to create more of an espalier or an espalier type of tree formation. And I really like the ones, you know, you'll see them and they look like they have kind of a straight base or straight middle going up. This one has a little bit of curve. I really like that character about it. And so I want to kind of keep that. So I'm going to look for a few limbs here that I'm going to want to keep. And I'm definitely going to keep this limb and this limb. And then I'm going to go up further, and I'm going to keep some of the limbs that are coming off at the same, so like this one here and this one here, I can keep. And and later on, if I need to, I can also remove those ones. But right now, since my tree is so small, I'm going to go ahead and just let the leader keep going up tall, and I'm going to remove some of the other limbs in here because I want to promote more growth on the tree. But I also don't want to take off too much of the tree. I do think this one was pruned back pretty harshly, and so I'm hoping I didn't kill it. But I will keep you guys definitely updated on my trees here. And if I killed it, then you guys know what not to do, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep those two branches down here at the bottom, these two right here. But I'm going to remove the two lower limbs down here. So I'm going to remove this one here. I'm going to remove this one here. All right. So those two lower limbs are gone now. I'm keeping these ones. Now this limb here is growing out this other direction. I'm not going to keep that one because it's not going in the way I want it to grow. All right. And then if I'm looking at it here, I'm looking for limbs that I can train. And I'm going to be setting up like a little trellis system. I'm going to get a little tiny trellis that I can put in my pot that I can train my limbs along. And I'm just going to remove that piece of debris, an old leaf. And I'm deciding now where my next branches that I want to come off. And I'm thinking that I should keep these two here, or this one here and this one here, because you kind of want them to be close. So I'm just going to cut that one off. All right, so I'm keeping this one and this one, this one and this one. Now we're going to move up just a little bit. This one's growing out the wrong direction. That one's going to go. All right. So that one's going bye-bye. All right. So now I'm looking at it and I'm just seeing where the next branches are. This other limb here is growing out the other direction. That one's going bye-bye. All right. My tree's moving around. So I'm looking up and I have another, and again, a couple more inches up. This limb here I'm keeping, this limb I'm keeping. This one's growing the wrong direction, cutting it off. This one here is growing the wrong direction, cutting it off. All right, now we're coming up the tree, and I've got a few limbs here. I'm keeping some of the limbs here fairly close together, typically closer than what most people would, only because it's such a young tree and I want to have options of which limbs I want to keep. So I'm keeping those two at the bottom, that one there, and then the next set right up here, this one here. So then I'm looking at this gap here. Now this limb here is growing the wrong direction, so I'm cutting that one off. This one has died back, cutting off the dead. All right, this one here got broke, I'm cutting that off, cutting the dead portion off. This one's dead, cutting it off. All right, so now I'm left with, it looks like this limb here, which is kind of growing not in the right direction, but once I get something to train it, I can move it over to where I want it. And this one has a dead end, so I'm thinking I'm just gonna leave those alone, but this one here is growing in the wrong direction, so I'm gonna remove it. And now the rest of it's just a long bit here, here's a little dead piece, removing it, and the rest of it is just the tree. And I'm going to look at the top to see if there's a dead bit, and there is a dead bit, so I'm going to go ahead and remove some just at the tip of the tree. Let's see here, I'm going to come down just a little bit more because there we go, it didn't like the super thin bit, so that's what I'm left with. So I'm going to try to zoom here so that you guys can see a little bit better. So the top portion doesn't have any limbs coming off of it all, and then you come down and you start seeing the shape take place. And some of these I can straighten them out and I can train them, so I need to get a little trellis so that I can train them along the trellis with some wires. And I have got the start of my espalier apricot tree. So anyways, you guys, this is me just trying to experiment in my garden, and I'm starting out with very relatively young trees here. They're actually a little bit less than a year old. We're talking like maybe 10 months old here, and yeah, anywhere between 8 to 10 months old of these two trees here that I grew from seeds last year. And I have not seen very many videos of people trying to train their trees as young as this online, and so I figured it might be helpful for other people to see if this is something that would work. If it doesn't work and I ended up killing my trees, you guys at least know not what to do, and I will make sure that I make a follow-up video later in the spring to let you guys know whether or not these have survived or whether or not it really like hurt my trees really bad. But since I'm just new at this and I'm learning and everything like that, I figured it wouldn't hurt for me to experiment. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. Like, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell button so that you get notified when I have new videos. And as always, have a wonderful day. Bye.